Alright everybody, this is recorded. I am now clocked out on my lunch. I am your host, Spencer Presley, host of What You May Ask. Of course, that's the Vita Life podcast. Not canceled, not actively alive, but just like the Vita, it is still kicking. When I am not talking about SMT or Persona or Steelbooks, I am always talking about my PlayStation Vita. And so to come back for our, I guess, like 2-yearly long tradition, I've begged Sandeep to come back. You've swam out of your Scrooge McDuck Kickstarter money pool, and I'm glad you could join us here. Sandeep, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing, Spence?
I am good. Apparently I can only talk to you on recorded lines when we have a Kickstarter going on, so clearly we have to get this out of the way. If anyone doesn't know about you or the Kickstarter, because this will be going up pretty much tonight, like within like 6 or so hours of us recording it, assuming I do my job right. So people will be hearing this relatively quickly, so if you want to tell them who you are, who Too Old for Gaming is, and what the heck you're trying to get money for.
Sure. So I'm Sandeep Rai. I have a YouTube channel called Too Old for Gaming with number 2 and number 4. And I've been covering the Vita on my channel for about 7 years now. No, more than that, 9 years now, given it's coming to its 10th birthday. And so I've written a few books about the Vita, and right now I've got on Kickstarter a kind of a compilation hardback book of my previous material plus new material called Vita Means Life. And this hardback book is available now on Kickstarter to pre-order.
So you've been kind of talking about it with me for a little bit leading up to it, but so obviously you've had the 3 other volumes that we talked about before with the book. So like, what would you kind of say is like the breakdown for someone who maybe has them all already of like, what do you think the percentage is of like new to old stuff in this hardback?
I'd probably say it's about 85 to 90% old stuff, 15 to 10% new stuff. And it's really, this is kind of what I would like it to be, is the book or the definitive book about the Vita. This tells the whole story from, pre-launch all the way to now, to its 10th birthday. And I kind of figure the last bit of news we would see if it may happen next year after, is probably Sony closing the store. But otherwise, this will be kind of the book about the Vita, covering the full history of the book, interviews with developers of some of the big first-party games that came out on the system, and then retrospectives on some of the biggest games as well.
So this is a weird one, whereas I was thinking about it of like, because we're not there yet. Like, we're really close to the end. Like, I'll think of the end as not when the store closes, because really, once new games stopped coming on, I kind of thought of that as the end. But, like, for me, I think when we finally get that final physical release, then it'll really feel like the end, you know?
Yeah. Which is only a couple of weeks away, probably, or maybe even a week away.
Yeah, so like that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about, just because I know you and me have very differing opinions on East Asia Soft, or I wouldn't even say very differing. I would say we've all had very evolving relationships with East Asia Softs and their releases, especially over the last couple of years. But I was like thinking about it of like, they're doing a big holiday showcase tomorrow, Monday the 6th of December. They've said they're doing a release in December. I don't think they would do one on Christmas week. So this week kind of seems like the week to do it. And the weird thing is, for you, unless I'm crazy, didn't they talk about they had plans for releases like through this year and even into next? But then I feel like after October, them taking November off and not really talking about it and just being like, we've got one for December. It's like everyone's kind of collectively come together and just assumed, okay, this is the last. Like, this is it. Like, I wonder if something like happened, because like, The one thing, out of all the things people can say in the V community about limited run, I at least appreciated we knew 2 years in advance, this is how many games we made.
Yeah, true.
Whereas like with East Asia Soft, it's like, they could do 2 more, they could do 10 more, and I would believe either.
Well, so I think towards the beginning of the year, they said we'll have something for every month of the year, and then they took November off. I believe they have come out and said that December is the final 2 games now. So whatever we get, and I think one of the titles is leaked anyway. So
tell me,
Mooseman.
Tell me. I don't even want to have this. I don't even have like. There's no like, because we know the games. Like I literally think. Oh, there's 2 things that make me like not care about the surprise. I'm gonna buy them either way. I'm sure I will enjoy them. But like, when I think it was like a month or 2 ago, Josh or one of them came out and was like, "Hey, don't expect a big one. And I'm like, you know what? If you're telling people that's probably that's probably not a good sign. So like, what have you heard?
So, well, Mooseman has got a trophies up on Exophase, which is, I haven't played it. I actually downloaded it. It's free on mobile. It actually, the trailer looked okay. It looks quite a kind of
why
artsy
does this
game,
look familiar?
you know.
Oh, I have seen Mooseman. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
seeing it when it got announced. People were like, "Whoa, look at this weird game," because it's called the Mooseman.
Yeah, and I think it looks okay. It looks okay. And at least it's a game that's not on the store, so you know that makes it a bit more of a plus. The last game, who knows? I haven't got high hopes. I think this year has not been. You know, they've had a few decent games like
It's been a
Scourgebringer,
weird
Astro
year.
Echo Kitty.
It's been a weird year.
I know. I have not been overly impressed. You know, things like Patchy, whatever it was called. I think most recently Skull Pirates. I did a review of that video. I played the whole game in 1 hour.
Let me tell you, I platinumed
crazy.
that recently. If you think
Okay.
playing it is frustrating, platinuming it is more, because there are multiple things broken with the game. So, like, even for example, like, there's a trophy that's called Rocket Cat. It's just encounter this Rocket Cat ship 10 times. That's pretty easy, until you realize it only spawns in the first level. Not that there's many levels. And the trophy's glitched. It actually needs to spawn 100 times, and there's no counter. So if you're not counting, you just have to keep going through that first level over and over and over and over and over and over.
Well, I had a glitch on the first level where it wouldn't let me finish it. I got to the end of the level just before the boss, and it wouldn't let me actually go to the boss fight. I restarted it and it worked, but it was like, you know, it's clearly not in good shape. And I think there's a lot of problems with it, especially since it was on Kickstarter.
Yeah, I was going to say,
so
I think that's the biggest one, by the way, because
Yeah.
did you back it or did you not back it on Kickstarter?
No, I didn't, which I'm
So
happy to
I
pay.
backed it, and backers have still not gotten any of their copies shipped. So, like, obviously, like, Arcade Distillery is, like, literally 2 people shipping them out, but it's also at the same point, it's like, there's been no updates unless you're, like, commenting on the Kickstarter, and then maybe you'll get an update. But it's just one of those crazy things of, like, I feel like if there was ever an indie dev that I love with a big asterisk next to it, it's Arcade Distillery. Like, everyone there, God bless them, Luke, Sean, and all of them, like, Conrad, they all have a great idea for their games, but every time those executions are just like, oh, just hit them. Because, like, it's like, I feel like if they took the budget of 5 of their games and just put it into one, it would be really, really good. But it always feels like, even when, like, because that was the thing about Skull Pirates that was so interesting at its announcement, even that PSX you were at. Like, they stressed it. It was like, hey, this is a big deal for us. This is us. It's got multiplayer, it's got co-op, it's got crossplay, it's got ship combat, land combat. It's not just a platformer. It's like a 3D moving around in a 2D space. And then, like, you play it, and you realize it's literally just a reskin with a couple of extra features of Plague Tale. Not Plague Tale, Death Tales.
Yeah. I know. I'm really disappointed, you know, and it's okay, you know, they didn't have much time. Vita Store was closing. They had to submit to get the physical copies, but they still had, even then, another 6 months where they could have patched it.
Yep.
Yeah, they could have put more in it, and it's just they just left it as is. And I think someone made that comment on the Kickstarter.
Here's a hot take question. Would you rather have had Skull Pirates release in its physical state, or get a Gumbo Works physical cart?
Neither. just put more copies of Scourgebringer or Astro Aqua.
Oh man, I will say I think this year had way more good than bad. I just think it was very, like, uneven, and there were a couple things that were weird. Remember, we started this year with no, we ended it with My Aunt is the Witch. Hyperoxia was the end of December with Roommates. So the first thing they did this year was Sense, which was the idea of, oh, that's cool, until we got it, and then it was like I feel like if Project Sense was a more popular game, that way more people would be talking about it, because, like, that game is one of the most technically messy games I've ever seen on the system.
And it's bad on Switch. So I remember I got a review code for it on Switch, and my review, it's pretty scathing. I don't normally like to be so mean about indie games, but it's not a good game. It's even if it ran well, and it doesn't run well on Switch, it's still a bad game. And then the Vita version ran even worse. So it's just, I do wonder for East Asia Soft what quality control they have.
See, that's the thing that like I really want to get them on here and interview them. I've mostly been wanting to wait till all their releases are done, because, like, again, I don't know why they're being secretive. It's like, we all know their games are going to sell out, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think they're very candid in public in terms of, like, talking about things, but they get very defensive about the kind of, like, how the sausage is made, which I've never really understood, because it's like, we all know, like, the hand all these devs and publishers were dealt sucks. Everyone agrees on it. But it's just one of those things of, like, we just want more clarity. Like going back to the Skull Pirates, like, I genuinely think no one would have complained if they just made an update and just said, this is not a game. You are buying a beta. This is what the game is going to be. But obviously we couldn't finish it on this system, and we promised backers, so here you go. Because, like, think about all the games that we've been promised through Kickstarters but never got. Like, the fact that we at least still have something to show for it on the system is, in that state, I think is better. But the fact that it was just sold with, hey, here's the same trailer from 2017, go buy the game, there's 800 of them. Then when you get it, you then find out, oh, okay, this isn't really a game. This is just, like, a fifth of a game at best.
Yeah. Exactly. I think they needed to be clear about it. And like I said, I mean, East Asia Soft, they must have tried these games. They must have tested them.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. I don't think they all do. I'm willing to bet maybe one or two of them do, but, like, because of, like, everything I've heard behind the scenes through people like Barry, Top Hat, and even, like, I always forget what it is, Wolfgang, I always forget Poppyworks and stuff. Through all of the people I've talked to leading up to that final thing, it was a mad dash of submit to Sony. If Sony kicks anything back, let us know and we'll help you, but just submit. Submit. Like there were not dev builds going out that people were trying, like, months in advance. So it was like, it was one of those things that, like, I would be amazed if anyone had touched Skull Pirates before they sold it. Like, outside of the devs.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I don't think I can talk about it, but I've heard games they've rejected that are far better than Skull Pirates.
Oh my god, dude, me too. It's like, obviously there are certain devs they work with a lot that, like, kind of make sense, but then there are ones that are kind of out there in left field that are like, oh my god, this is crazy, you worked with these devs, but then why did you never work with them for more stuff? Of, like, people will rag on Ratalaika or stuff a bunch, but, like, honestly, if you look at all of their releases put together, like, when you saw My Big Sister and Just Ignore Them collection, I think people were like, okay, good, at least we know what we're getting with this one. Like, that's like, you either know you're into it or not, whereas, like, something like a Brotherhood United might be like hopefully I like it. I don't know who the dev is. Like, it's kind of taking a chance, like a Pushy and Pulley. Pushy and Pulley is a fun idea for a concept, but, like, you can't. If it wasn't for its limited nature, 1,000 physical copies on PS4 or Switch would not go for Pushy and Pulley.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. That's why it feels like at times Vita owners are getting a little bit taken advantage of, and we do it to ourselves.
We're definitely guinea pigs. I mean, another good example of showing that no one play tests them. Remember, actually, because I know you're way more fickle than I am, you did not pick up Pushy and Pulley, right?
Oh, no, I did grab that. I did.
So remember, Pushy and Pulley launched with the trophy list, because a bunch of these this year have all been physical exclusives, because who's going to buy them digitally? And the thing with that has then been all the things that have been slipping through the cracks. So Pushy and Pulley had trophies related to a 2-player mode that's not in the game, so it was unplatinumable until it was patched.
Yeah. Which is pretty funny, that they would let that go through.
But
they only realized when people started saying it. Like, they had months to patch it.
Yeah, it's like, it takes us 5 minutes of playing the game to figure this out. Like, the devs I kind of get, because, like, again, for them it's such a mad dash to make it happen, and they're working on other platforms. But then there are other situations where it's like, you probably could have known. I will say, though, I still think the good way outweighs the bad. Like, for me, I love that we got Indigo 7, because there's not a lot of puzzle games, and I think that's a really, really fun one. I thought 1,000 was kind of low for that, because, like, that was probably Dolores Soft's, like, biggest game they've done in quite a while. Maybe Maybe the only thing a little bit bigger than that would have been A Whole New World, but like that one ran pretty technically rough. But like, because like I think Dolores for a long time, because they started off with a bunch of Red Art games, like they did some of the earlier stuff like Ice Cream Surfers. They had like fun indie games that somehow always ran like trash, but like at least they slowly got better. And I was glad at least Indigo 7 was one, because that was a big one for them. Of like, they put a lot of work into that. Like they have voice actors, there's a big story mode into it. Like I'm glad things like that worked out. Scourgebringer, super big get for them. I think one of the ones that people are going to look back on and be like, oh my god, this is going to get really pricey, I bet, down the line, is Horizon Chase Turbo. Like that's such a great port.
Agree. Yeah, that's a fun game. That is just a fun game. It's long. Load times are a bit long, but otherwise it's really fun.
That's one of those few games. Like I think the only time I've played a game this year where I'm playing it on my Vita, and like yes, the loads are technically long, but when you're playing it, it's like this was a great job. And do you remember who ported it, by the way?
Ooh, no, I don't.
It was the South American studio who did the Vasara collection and 99 Vitas for Strictly Limited.
Oh, okay. Okay, good for them.
I forget their name, but yeah, they've done a bunch of other games and port work before. But yeah, the fact that like they were reached out to it of like, because they're probably one of the more technically proficient devs out there, especially who had a lot of experience with the physical crunch. Because remember how long ago the Vasara collection was done before we got it through Strictly Limited.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh man, now I have to be really negative because of course I just thought of something. I was like, man, do you remember how long that wait was? It's December, and no one has any idea when the heck we're getting Super Meat Boy shipped out still, and that's pretty bad.
Well, no, isn't the regular version I think is out? It's the limited version is still.
Well, to be fair, it's only the regular Vita version, but the collector's edition that everyone I think universally agreed upon is a terrible collector's edition.
Oh yeah,
and the Switch and the PS4 one, those have not been manufactured yet. Like it's so funny if you look at anything limited run post now. It's always filled with comments of people asking what is an update for X game. And like I saw one today that was so real. Someone was like, I'm literally moving in 2 weeks from a game I ordered 12 months ago. What can I do? I'm like, can you imagine just being like, honey, we can't move. I've got to get my copy of Doom. It's just not here yet.
You know what? That's a really good point. I'm moving soon. I need to somehow get that updated.
And that's the thing. It's still not a feature that they officially support. So you have to go through, get customer support, submit a ticket. God knows that's not going to be any easier with the holiday and stuff for it. So like it's always such a strain. Because like for me, I would have thought for them that by the time they finally put Super Meat Boy on sale, they want to rip that Band-Aid off as fast as possible. And we're still there. Remember, we're still not talking about Super Bird King. No, Revenge of the Bird King. Yeah. We're still not talking about that. We can't talk about the full Vita bonus. And it's like, I get it for them. They're busy with a million and bajillion other things. But that's another thing of like, I think sometime next year I'm going to try and get Josh on from Limited Run of just like, once Meat Boy is shipped, I would love a post-mortem on Limited Run. Because you've got to imagine they've got to have so many things that they're just kicking themselves. Not only that they could have done, but doing things differently. Because like I feel like the last 2 years of their releases were so great, but they were just handled so sloppily. Like they had so many great releases that unfortunately are just remembered by people being mad at them for either getting them really late or like not being able to get them at all.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, it's just a plastic tray. That's all we're really waiting on, aren't we?
That's the sad part. It's not even plastic. It's like one of those styrofoam meat holders. It's not even going to be plastic.
It's not even plastic. Oh my god! Well, I just bought it because it was the only one available. I couldn't get the standard edition. So
I cannot wait once I get mine in, just so I can look at it, be disappointed, and then sell the actual game that came. Because I still have my Meat Boy. It's like it's good. Yeah, it's there, but it's one of those things of like I will be very excited as soon as I get it to then not have to think about this ever again. Be very ashamed of myself, and then just hopefully give someone a copy who missed out on it.
Well, I was kind of planning to just sell at cost the tray and whatever else comes in that collector's edition. I don't want it.
What a sad eBay listing that's going to be. Would you like an opened meat styrofoam tray with a 4-inch figure and a paper poster that's probably bent?
Yeah, exactly. God. The hoops we jump through as Vita collectors.
Oh my, no, 100%. Like the amount of like weird loop around, because like one of the weird ones I need to get, but I just don't care enough to jump through all the hoops for it, is there's a Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls Vita cartridge case steelbook. So it's the size of a DS case in those steelbooks, but it's meant to hold 6 Vita carts on each side. But it was only made for South Korean, it was like some special edition in South Korea at the time of its Asian release. It is a steelbook. It's meant only for Vita, and there's like nothing out there on there. And it's still like able to be bought, but it's just I'd have to go through one of those like third-party proxy sites, and I'm just like, I want it. It's such a weird thing that's up my alley for steelbooks and Vitas, and I like Danganronpa, but I'm also like, I can't be bothered just to get this case just yet.
I'd never even heard of that, actually. I'm just trying to look it up on eBay.
I'll try and send you a picture when I can after the show for it. It's a really cool looking thing for it, just because, I mean, it's very shiny, steelbooks are nice, and God knows there's no steelbooks for PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
Do you have a weird one outside of Super Meat Boy of something you looked at, or something you ever really wanted, and were like, my choice is getting this with a whole bunch of extra crap I don't want, or not getting it at all?
I'm trying to think. I've still got the Sayonara. I'm going to say the name wrong.
Sayonara Umehari Kawase plus.
That's the one. I would never say that, but I've still got that big collector's edition. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It feels like, again, one of these ones. I would have rather just had the standard version. I'm in a weird one with that one. I love that collector's edition just because, like, say what you will about Strictly Limited and their probably really bad shipping time. I don't buy from them anymore, but every time I ever see them, it's usually, I'm sorry about the shipping delay, everybody. But, like, the thing about them I will always give them is they always did such nice, like, collector's boxes. Like, the one for Visara and the one for Sayonara were really, really nice quality boxes. But, yeah, it is a big box. It does take up a lot of space, and there is just a bunch of junk in there at the end of the day. Yeah, I've been kind of getting rid of the East Asia Soft collector's boxes. I just want the game.
That's actually blasphemy. I can't imagine ever getting... Because they're not that big, and they hold the CD, and you got the little certificate, so it's like... I get it. It would save so much space, but, like, I love how nice they look all together. I will say, for you, it's probably easier, because you don't have all of them.
Yeah. And thing is, like I said, I'm moving soon. And so I just want to clear out a little bit. I don't want to be taking everything with me. And so if I can just get rid of a few things like that, I just want to keep the games. I don't need the boxes.
Please tell me, Sandeep, that your kids just think you're the biggest nerd for playing all these Vita games. Are they ever, like, are any of your kids like, Dad, you're so cool for having all these physical Vita games? Like, that's my worry when I finally have kids. They're all just going to be like, Dad, why didn't you collect Switch? Why'd you have to collect Vita? That's so lame.
I do get that from them. I do. But I think they like the fact that I've got pretty much every console. So when it comes to their friends, they all know that I'm on YouTube and that I've written books, and they're like, if there's ever kind of a gamer question, they'll all try and come and impress me and say like, I played Fortnite yesterday and got Victory Royale, and say, okay, well done, kid. So it's I'm quite well known for kind of the channel and everything.
Is it been kind of crazy for you how it's kind of changed? Because I thought it was really interesting when the Switch did come out, watching how a couple of different channels were like, okay, I'm going to do Vita and Switch, or I'm going to go all Switch, or maybe try and focus on like next-gen consoles, and just kind of seeing like how different ones have either adapted, changed, or kind of floundered out. Like, even for you cover way less like Switch stuff now, and when you are, it's more of a kind of in a comparison sense. Like, do you look back on it now, so many years after the Switch is released, about like, I'm glad at like trying to cover both, I should have like stick with one? Because like, even for me, like, while I liked collecting for the Switch, I just don't have that like innate interest in it as a system, even to this day, compared to the Vita, just because I think it's still such a weird niche thing to talk about and cover.
Yeah, I do think about that. Like, I could have probably tried to go all in on the Switch, and my channel would probably be doing a lot better. But I just don't have as much affinity with it. It's got great games on it. I'm playing Voice of Cards right now, which is brilliant. That new Square Enix RPG, really, really good. And I do really like the Switch, but yeah, I just don't have the same affinity as I do for my Vita. But although, to be honest, the reason I'm not putting much videos out recently has just been work. Just day job has been really crazy. And then for the last couple of weeks, I've been packing manuals to send those out, so I've had no time really to make videos.
Well, yeah, you're an adult now with multiple other jobs. Yeah, we haven't actually talked about the manuals and stuff, because that's been kind of like with the last year or so. What's been like your learning process with that, in terms of like, Because now you've done, what, 3 waves, right?
Yeah, 3 series. Yeah.
Are
So
you
it's
at are
15
you at the
ones.
point now where do you think if you keep doing the manuals, you're going to look back at your first wave or two and go, I gotta re-update these. I gotta touch these up again.
I did think about that. I think one of the tricky parts is that you do obviously learn, like you said, and so the later manuals are kind of almost hitting like 40 pages on average, whereas the early ones are probably more like about 28, 32 pages on average. So I'm putting more in there because I really feel like I want to give people value. But I've been having a bit of a problem with this series because the printer I was using is now stopped making A7 booklets.
It is
and
a
so
weird
I've got
size.
a new printer. Yeah, it is a weird size. Yeah, so I've got this new printer in China, and they took like so long to print it. It's just and they cost a lot more as well. So it's tricky. It's too many complications. I'd love to be able to just continue doing it, but I really have to look at whether I've actually made a loss this time around with the cost of getting it from China and the shipping.
See, what we need to do for you is we now just need to get you in touch with Limited Run and say, make me a deal for $100,000 and I'll make 101 manuals for all of your Vita games because none of them came with manuals outside of like 4.
Did they not? So I'm one of these people that doesn't generally open these limited games. So I assume they all did, actually.
Oh,
so,
no way. No, yeah, my favorite
man.
thing, when I would get a limited run game, I would give it to my wife, and I'd be like, what do you think? And she'd be like, no, it doesn't have a manual. And every time, she would be right and still be disappointed. So, yeah, like, the amount of ones that... Like, there were some with manuals, but, like, even their PS4 stuff. The PS4 one, I think, is more egregious just because, like, they're so bare bones. Like, the PS4, when you open it up, and it's like, you get the legalese sheet, and that's pretty much it for it. But, no, yeah, like, so many of their ones I wish got a manual. Like, the last 2, at least, thankfully did. Super Meat Boy has a really nice big manual. Papers, Please has a fantastic manual, but that's, like, that was a mandatory manual.
Okay, yeah, it is. Oh, that's really disappointing. I mean, I would love to do that for limited run games. I don't think Doug is overly impressed with me after that video from, like, 3 years ago, so I don't know if he would want to work with me, but... some of the games have been really good. I would love to put manuals for those ones as well. I always assumed that they just had them already. So
no manual for Spelunky, no Guacamelee manual. I think especially the other ones, like the SNK ones, would just be such an easy one. Night Trap got one though. I know you were worried Night Trap didn't get one. It didn't get patched, but it did get a manual.
Oh, good, excellent.
So, one of the other things I was kind of wanting to think about is we're kind of getting up to, like, the 10th anniversary, and leading on, like, for you kind of started your, like, I guess, like, would you call it, like, a showcase or whatever of, like, Vita games from 2021 that you're kind of starting with, like, Aqua Kitty and stuff. What are your kind of plans leading up to it for yourself, whether it be the channel or other, like, personal projects?
So, I've put on my channel the first part of the history of the Vita up, and so... It's going to be monthly just because it takes so long to record kind of like, 15, 20-minute videos and edit them and all of that. So that'll be a monthly. So I'll make sure I have one more of those videos. I did a video this week talking about why I thought the Vita kind of wasn't successful. So I kind of want to...
Can I say I got such a chuckle out of that? Of the Vita's about to turn 10 years old. Let's talk about why it's such a failure. Happy birthday. Jeez, man.
Well, at least I'm the, Sony's Christmas present to the Vita, shutting down Freedom Wars.
That's true. That's true. You could have had the worst gift, but no, Sony one-upped you, thankfully. They were like, you know what? Hold my beer. Let me turn this server off real quick.
I am officially, so I've got 2,000 years left. So I've got one trophy left on Freedom Wars, and then I got the Platinum.
I cannot, like, if you actually make that happen, that is actually insane, because that is a grindy game.
Well, I mean, I have been working on it for years. I think... 2 weeks ago, before the announcement, I was at 750,000, and then I've just whittled it down.
At least
big time.
At least you picked Soul Sacrifice, because Freedom Wars... Sorry, at least you didn't pick Soul Sacrifice. That's actually grindier than Freedom Wars. Like, Soul Sacrifice Delta with everything is insane.
I was thinking maybe I'll go and try that one, but there's too much to do there. Those levels are so hard. And even you need to have a really strong team to be able to do that. And on vanilla Soul Sacrifice, I got to level 100 or whatever. I had an even build, 50-50 on kind of the good side and the bad side. Mm-hmm. But for Delta, I was only at like 30-30. So I still finished the game on that, but to go and get to, level 99 or whatever, it's just such a grind. I know I'm not going to do it, but I might just play a little bit before the end.
So another one, kind of going back to your book though, with everything, I was curious, for any of the new stuff, was there anyone, because I know it's not like said and done yet, has there anyone been like, who would be like, you have a chance to include them in the book, whether it be an interview or a feature, like who would be that like one person or game that you would really want to cover or have been able to include that you're really proud of?
What I would love to include, is someone from Sony, to really go back and talk about the Vita, and I guess have a candid interview. But I think they would never agree to that.
They have to let Shuhei out of the Vita prison. You either have to leave the company or you just can't talk about it.
Yeah, I think that would be what I would love. A big scoop like that would be awesome for the book, but I just don't see it happening. I'd even love just to have kind of a few more developers, developers of kind of those big first party games, if I can get some. I think that would again be kind of a big get, because I've got the director of Wipeout 2048, Motorstorm RC, Escape Plan, Little Big Planet, Vita. I've got some great interviews in there, but if I could get a few more, that would be awesome.
I'm trying to think of something. I'm not sure how easily accessible he is to still talk about, but I'm pretty sure if you wanted to find someone who'd be pretty involved with it, you could try either Adam Boyes or Gio Corsi, because they are now both out of Sony and were really, really involved with it.
That's a good idea, actually. I hadn't, especially probably Gio.
Yeah, Gio is way, way, way more public than Adam. But I mean, Adam's at Iron Galaxy now, and Gio is at... Oh my god, I know their name. Well, I know because they did Friday the 13th and Predator in that arcade game.
I know what you mean.
They all bleed together. But so they would probably be a good one. Like, my weird one that I've always wanted to know... I know no one would care about this, but I think people constantly forget this was a thing that happened. I would pay so much money to get just a full-on documentary about what the hell... How did Disney Infinity get pitched, approved, developed, and then released? Because that's one of those games that if I tell people, I think they straight up will just forget actually came out. Not only that Disney Infinity came out on the Vita, that it actually worked, had a base, and is just one of those things that people never talk about. Because think about it in the thing of there was a Spider-Man game in the Vita no one talked about. There was a Avengers game, a Guardians of the Galaxy game 7 years ago, and we just never talk about it.
I only tried it once. I think it was so fiddly with the base and using it on my Vita and having it connected the whole time. I tried Spider-Man. It didn't run well. The camera was a mess, so I kind of gave up pretty quickly.
I'm too nice for a lot. If you're a remotely ambitious Vita game, I will give you such benefit of the doubt. It's even with something like Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, where people rag on that one a lot, I'm like, you're trying your best, buddy. You're doing your best of what you can. Actually, that's one of the things I really love for the comparisons, because I think that's one of the last Switch videos I remember watching on your channel was you comparing the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. And for some of these ports are just so crazy of... I'm not sure if you did Attack on Titan or if that might have been another one of the channels, but I love looking at certain ports of playing Attack on Titan 2 on Vita somehow performs better than Attack on Titan 2 on Switch, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I mean the recent one I did was the Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Oh yeah, that was another one.
The Vita version that was done by a homebrew developer was better than the Switch version done by Rockstar, which is crazy. Just crazy.
Oh,
and it really shows how capable the Vita is. When you think about that sort of thing, it really it almost annoys me a little bit, because you get some guys just sitting in their bedroom able to do something that Sony never did. And, if Sony had actually put some money into it and just tried, the Vita's so capable. It could have been, done so much more with it if they had just put some effort into it.
Well, there's even a couple other weird ones. So I have been covering and preparing for Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. And if you remember, at release, 9 was big open world, really ambitious game, was really technically rough, even on Xbox One and PS4 and PC. And so this one is coming to Series X, PS5, and Switch, and they're still using that engine. And the Switch version, I kid you not, it looks like a PSP game. It is amazing. And what's funny, because Koei Tecmo, especially with some of their Warrior games, Koei Tecmo does amazing work technically. Like when they, I think limit what a platform's on, or maybe in terms of other things, or could be engines. They can really get a lot out of low-powered hardware, as we saw with the Vita and with other aspects and stuff like it. But it was so funny of it wasn't fair to compare the PS5 version to the Switch version. But then even just for shits and giggles, I loaded up Dynasty Warriors. What was I playing? I loaded up Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, and that looked like a next gen game comparatively to 9 Switch, which is just it's not even it's open world anymore. There's tons of concessions they had to make, but it was one of those funny things of even before I started it, I thought to myself, and I was like, okay, it's either going to look way better than I thought, but perform terribly, or perform okay, but look more horrifying than I could ever imagine.
It's a shame. That's why I really wanted a Switch Pro. I think it was a missed opportunity for Nintendo with the Steam Deck coming and so many of these other Chinese handhelds, which are kind of, really looking good these days. Like the Odin Pro, I think the Switch should have had an upgrade. It's just to kind of keep up and make it a bit more appealing, I think, to kind of actual gamers.
I get that, but then also at the same point, the tricky part then becomes it's just not when it's not got that official backing. I think it's such a harder uphill battle of look, this it's even with the homebrew and the emulation stuff on Vita, that community has been so awesome, but as soon as you don't have that official support, it's just way less attractive to them.
True, that's true. Yeah.
One of the other things that is really kind of frustrating is then I'm sure people are going to listen to this and be like, well, Vita's not going to die because people are still going to be working on homebrew stuff and other things like that. And that'll be fine, but at least for me personally, I have got so many games I have still never touched. I promise you. Keep doing what you're doing, but there's never going to be a game I see is now only available through Vita Homebrew where I'm okay, guys, I'm jailbreaking my Vita. I've got to do it. I've got more Lego games than I know what to do with. Before I even touch anything else. So it's and the crazy part is, at least for me, as I'm almost at 400 plus games now, I think physically only. The crazy thing about that is I still have tons of games digitally. When that final digital cutoff date does come, I have a list on my phone of games I still haven't bought that I know I need to, Adventures of Mana and a bunch of other digital stuff. And stuff like that where I know I need to get. I still have all of the games that only ever came out in Japan.
Yeah. I know, I feel the same way. I actually bought a game recently. I think, was it Nekoburo? The kind of this match 3 puzzle with cats. I saw Adam Cartwright, who's Kreshnik on Twitter, recommended it recently, and it's actually a really fun little game. And I didn't even know it was on Vita. I just completely missed it. So it was just, there's so much there still that I hadn't even realized that I needed to play.
Yeah, so it is one of those funny things of for me, honestly, the lack of games coming to it has just been better because now I can finally focus on playing catch-up.
Yeah, it's true. That's one advantage of it. And, because I've seen people put comments on my videos or on Twitter oh, aren't you going to stop playing the Vita now? All these kind of negative comments about Vita, which you tend to get when you're kind of covering it. And it's no, I've got so many games I've still got to play or still got to finish. I started on the Surge Plus a few months ago. Probably only played a few hours, but it was really good. I was really impressed with what I played so far.
Oh, yeah. So, all the Gust games, literally the only ones I've played are the physical ones, and then there, I think, are 3 or 4 other ones. No, there's actually more, because even other ones people don't remember, Blue Reflection even came out. Gust was putting Vita RPGs out for almost 9 years. Yeah.
So many games still to play, which is awesome. It's the tricky part is just finding time for everything. It's just not enough hours in the day.
I will say that's kind of one of the nice things I like about the Vita, especially with working from home, is there's no game, even if like the world's longest Vita game, it's still very pick up and play friendly, even with like the whole nature of the system. Like there's no game on the system I would ever feel like I have to play with headphones and I have to be sitting in front of like a big screen for like multiple hours. Like there are certain games like you kind of want to experience like that, and nothing on the Vita has ever felt kind of like out of like that just pick up and play, laying on the couch, sitting on a plane, doing it like on the bus, something like that. They've all the games that have always come to the system have always felt very complimentary to me without ever being like, you have to be... Even something as stupid as Disney Infinity, like, having that base as a Bluetooth base meant I could just set that base, like, halfway across my room, and I just lay in my chair, and, like, oh my god, talk about another game I will never recommend anyone platinum, is platinuming that game on the Vita. The amount of, like, you know a game really hates you when the last trophy is, of course, the one that makes your system crash 5 times out of 10. And it's like, how did this get through CERT? But you know what? I see no one's got it, I've got to get it, because why not?
You got it then in the end.
Oh yeah, well, if anyone ever wants to go through my trophies, which I never recommend, Torchwood 4SP is my PSN account, and all my trophy, everything is profile. You'll go, wow, this guy starts a lot of games and never beats them because I buy too many, but that at least shows that I do open them all. But like, the amount of weird ones, I think especially for some of those weird physical exclusive ones, it's like, I've got to do it. I've got to get the platinum for no reason in... God, what's a weird one? Dungeons and Bombs. Oh my god, what a terrible platinum. Like, that's an okay idea for a game, but as soon as I decided to try and platinum it, it was just like, oh, that's okay, that was not fun, but you know what? That was an afternoon of my life, and I got that platinum, and no one will be proud of me for it.
Fair enough. Cool, good for you.
See, but then by comparison, when you then get... that Freedom Wars Platinum, it's going to feel so good. You're going to have that Antonio Banderas moment where you just sit back in the chair and you have that inhale of breath. Feels so good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what is it? 6 years? No, 7 years in the making, that Platinum.
What are some?
I'm gonna record it anyway.
What are some like
Moby? 2000.
What are some like Moby Dick games, or like whether it be a game you've really wanted to like platinum, finish, or even just get that you haven't like, for whatever reason, whether it be life or money? Like, what are those like games that have slipped away from me that you're like, God, why have I not just done this already?
Just trying to think. I should have kept my Vita right next to me when I started this. So I'm just trying to think what's on my Vita. Shovel Knight I've always meant to kind of go back to and try and get the Time Spinner as well.
Oh my gosh. I cannot believe Time Spinner never got a physical. That hurt me a lot.
Oh, I know. That is painful. Really, really frustrating.
We got Mooseman though. That's
really
okay.
Deserved it. But yeah, Time Spinner, there was one trophy with like there's an alternate ending. And I don't know why, I just couldn't figure out how to get it, and I didn't bother looking up a guide. So that's one I got to go back to at some point because I'm so close to it. I just need to do it. What else was there? Odin's Sphere. I need to go back and get that platinum as well. It's just it's such a long. Oh, and Ys 8. Ys 8. I've wanted to so many times, but then I start fishing and like it takes so long and I just don't get what I need and I think forget it. This is too much time.
There's like Ys is a really really long one to go through. I will say Ys Origin. If I remember right, Ys Origin has an okay trophy list. I don't think that's like terribly bad. Although that one might actually that one does have a platinum, but I remember that one not being as terribly long, but just because of the scale of the game for it. But no, you bring up a good point with some of those other ones of like you want to go back to it. Or, like, just, like a weird one, like with Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight, I was so late to beating. Like, Shovel Knight, I think I finally beat, like, the week the final King Card DLC came out. It's like, alright, I finally beat it. After, like, owning this game for multiple systems for multiple years, I finally beat Shovel Knight. And it was great because it lived up to the hype. It was like, man, this is great.
Yeah.
And I have 3 more campaigns to go through. And it's just kind of one of those things of, like, but I'm not in a hurry. Like, I'm not, like, going to get... God knows Yacht Club Games is never going to announce Shovel Knight 2 anytime soon. So it's like, there's no real big hurry for me. And, like, honestly, there's kind of, like, that nice thing of, like... I don't look at my Vita backlog the way I look at my PS5 backlog. Like, when I look at my PS5 backlog, I'm like, God, I really gotta beat Far Cry. God, I need to beat Fatal Frame. God, I need to beat, like, Deathloop or, like, Ghost of Tsushima. Like, these games that are just daunting of, like, oh my God, this is gonna take so long. I know they're great, but, like, it's such a big commitment, and I feel like I gotta get to them sooner than later. Whereas, like, I bought every single Omega Force game on the Vita. That's, like, at least 10,000 hours if I wanted to beat all of them. But there's no hurry. Like, it's just, like, you know what? Berserk, Attack on Titan 2, you're just going to sit there for a while. I'll get to you eventually. Even the weird, like, this is how you know I have a problem, man. I even bought the, I always forget the American name of it. Because it's Shin Dynasty Warriors. Oh, it's Dynasty Warriors Godseekers, the strategy RPG one. I even bought that one.
Yeah. I've got that. I think I've got it. Yeah, I've got it digitally. I don't think I got it physically, though.
Though that was the thing. It was only that was one of the rare Koei Tecmo games never got physically released anywhere besides Japan.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I don't remember having that one. Haven't started it yet. I just got it. I think it was it 3 years ago when Sony did like a sale? I don't know if it was in the US as well. Basically 10% off everything or anything on the store. So I just loaded up like about 10 different Vita games that I wanted to just grab at that point, because I knew they weren't going to go on sale again. I thought let's just get these games now since it's never going to get cheaper.
So since, because isn't the Freedom Wars thing, like, is it Christmas or New Year's? When's the actual cutoff day again?
Christmas Eve.
Are you going to do like a Christmas Eve platinum live stream goodbye for anything, or are we like planning on getting any memories or whatever?
Actually, that's a really good idea. I don't think I can. I was going to do a 10th anniversary live stream on the 17th, but yeah, 24th. I think I'm busy actually. I think family are coming over, so unfortunately I can't. But
now listen, hear me out. Hear me out.
Yep.
Get the in-laws. Get them on their own copy. Everybody load up. We're gonna knock a couple of years off Grandma's sentence and Freedom Wars away till the servers shut down. I'm trying to remember, because even though I am such a diehard, I'm actually forgetting. I know it's December, but I know it's soon. Okay, we're 12 days away from the actual anniversary. I've had a couple of ideas of what I want to do, but I think what I'm actually going to do is, because these always perform really well on my channel, and I have no idea why, is just me going through every physical game. And I've gotten quite a lot since my last one. Like, I think the last one I did was, oh my god, maybe October of 2019, which you wouldn't think there have been that many different games and stuff for it, but like, for whatever reason, it's very cathartic for me just to make this obnoxiously large pile of tiny blue plastic cases and just go through each of them. Because you would think if you're doing like a normal collection video, you hold up the case, you say the title, and you put it down.
Yeah.
I'm stupid. And I hold up the case, I talk about each game for 5 minutes, and then 3 hours go by, and at the end of every video I go, listen, I know no one made it this far, but if anyone's here, just, I'm sorry and thank you, and then they get 10,000 views later, people are like, I watched the whole thing, and I'm like, I don't know why you did, but thank you, person, for doing that. So I think what I might do, if it's a normal, well, I guess I have such a weird work schedule, so that's a Friday. I might hate myself and like do a hate stream of going through every Vita game I own on the anniversary, because God knows what else are people going to be doing on December 17th of this year.
It's true, yeah. Well, hopefully they'll join me for live stream.
Oh man, so no, yeah, the other thing, oh man, because the tough part is with the anniversary, for myself, I have so many weird things that I've been working on in the background, trying to get kind of prepped up, and this is kind of like a very low budget start to that. Of I want to celebrate the Vita kind of like all year, but without actually doing like a lot of work in the sense of like with your like kind of like history of the thing of it. I want to like kind of my mental goal is I want like every month for at least a year, one big interview with someone who either had a big effect on the Vita community, was in the Vita community, worked on it, published it, something like that. Just because, like, I've had a bunch of people for the longest time that I've been, like, talking to, whether it be, like, indie devs or, like, publishers. And the nice thing is, I think because it's been so long as, like, you're kind of relatively still out there publicly. Everyone I've ever asked about it who works on Vita stuff has just been like the nicest out, because like, everyone just kind of looks back on the system so fondly, especially now so many years removed.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's devs are so keen to talk about it, and so happy to talk about it. And I think you're right. I think people just really sort of like the device. It's one of these systems that people just like and happy to talk about it anytime.
Would you like to guess who my like number one, if I could pull any card out of my ass, interview, who it would be? I'll give you a hint. They published at least 3 games on the Vita. They have very long hair, and they just released a new game on PlayStation and Xbox.
Trying to think. Published 3 games on the Vita.
Very
not
popular.
Vanillaware, is it?
No, but I could actually. I do know someone who works at Vanillaware, but the tricky part is they're still entrenched a lot. They see Japanese devs very secretive still about, well, at least like AAA, like Atlas and Sega. They're not going to talk about their games. The closest I could probably get is maybe beg one of my friends who works at Sumo to talk about Sonic Racing Transformed, which, hey, that's a great game, but
yeah, it is.
It's a little different than like, let's talk about Dragon's Crown. No, we'll talk about Wreck-It Ralph and Danica Patrick racing around. But hey, that's a great game though.
No, I don't know. Give me, tell me who. I can't remember.
I would literally sell my kidney if I could get Lorne Lanning to talk about the PlayStation Vita. Because, if you've ever heard him talk about porting games to systems that suck, it's the best. Like, he had this big interview once talking about, it was like the week after New and Tasty released on Wii U. And Nintendo didn't advertise it at all. And he had this big thing of like, this port fucking sucked. It was pain in the ass. Took us 12 months late to even make it come out. No one bought the damn thing. And so I'm like, I would love to know what because they supported the Vita amazingly well in the early days. And obviously they went away because of how long it kind of took between New and Tasty and Soulstorm. Which, oh man, I don't know if it'll ever happen. But if Soulstorm ever comes to Switch, I'm sure that will be a horrifyingly disastrous game that will, I'm sure, be put on there one day.
That would be a good interview. That would be a good one to get.
Do you have like a developer that's not like specifically just Sony? That's like oh man, I really want to like pick your brain about this.
I'm trying to think. I think someone like John Garvin, who was the director of Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Oh,
I think that would be a really interesting one.
Especially now that he's a little bit more... I think he took a job. I forgot what it was, because I know when he left Bend...
Bend, didn't he?
He left Bend. I remember I reached out to him specifically. He was doing an interview on David Jaffe's show on YouTube, and I reached out to him because I said, now, I know everyone's going to talk about Days Gone or Siphon Filter. I've got to just say, I love Golden Abyss so much, and he went on this big tirade about like how everyone who worked on that game fucking loves that game, which like, really, like, there's not a lot of games that, like, I think you could just universally be like, man, that is a great launch game. But, God, Uncharted Golden Abyss is such a great launch game.
Yeah, it is. It really didn't get the respect it deserved. I remember people saying when the Vita launched that it didn't have that killer app. But
whenever anyone talks about the Vita's launch in any negative way, I'm like, I will always, and I still think the Vita had the best launch library I've ever seen. With like, we had tons of racing games, we had puzzle games, fighting games, we had BlazBlue. Sony had tons of stuff. We had Wipeout, we had Uncharted, we had Lumines. Like the Hot Shots. There were like so many games at launch without even getting into the digital stuff.
Yeah, it did. It did. It had a brilliant launch and really good variety as well. Just, you had sports games, you had like fighting games, you had racing games. There was just so much there. It's like there was something for everyone. I feel like that was, when you look back at kind of what went wrong with the Vita, I feel like the media was a bit harsh on it. I remember too many people saying, oh, there's no killer app. But an Uncharted game on a handheld, on a new system, day one, that was amazing. Mm-hmm. And Wipeout was amazing. I don't know. It's annoying to think about. I think it was kind of treated unfairly almost from that launch day.
No, definitely. And I love looking at how the Vita evolved in so many weird ways of like the kind of, I would say like the last few Twilight years have kind of been like the indie renaissance for sure. But like even other aspects of like I loved it was just nothing but weeb games for like 3 years. From 2014 to like 2017, it was like if you didn't see a Hyperdimension Neptunia game release, something was going wrong.
Yeah, true.
And like you just saw so many companies flourish. Like I would never like seriously. Do you think visual novels would be as popular as they are now without the Vita? Because like I feel like they always existed on PC, but like the idea of putting a visual novel out at all was kind of a crazy thing in the West, to then be like, we have multiple genres, multiple systems they're releasing on, and even now when you like, because like they still do visual novels on like PC and sometimes Xbox and PlayStation, like it's one of those things of like, even now I look at the Switch and I'm like, for whatever I've never had more of a genre bias than for the visual novels on Vita, just because it's like the screen, the battery, it's just portable enough that I can always just tuck it away in an instant. Whereas like with my Switch, I gotta put it in the case. I gotta be careful with it.
That's exactly. And I think something like Danganronpa, it's successful. It is where it is because of the Vita.
Oh, you've got to do a comparison video on that. I'm dying to know. I am dying to know, because if you remember, Danganronpa 1 and 2 were just PSP games, so like they kind of ran whenever. V3 is a pretty graphically intensive game.
Yeah, it is. It is. Even the trials were pretty. They was pretty impressive actually on the Vita V3.
Even to this day, because I was thinking about it a lot because it wasn't included. I am always impressed, like so impressed at how good it still looks and sounds and holds up as Ultra Despair Girls. That one is always like, that is a crazy release. Like when you think about that.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, I think Sony today probably wouldn't allow it. I heard the Switch version is not. It's potentially not coming, but I think they said fans make some noise. And
I was just literally doing next week's podcast for SMTN. I had a friend on who is a avid Ultra Despair Girls fan, and we were like, even at release, I didn't understand how that released without getting censored. Like that is a dark game.
Yeah, but I think they were just, Sony was just more relaxed. I think when the Vita came out initially, I think it was probably around 2017 onwards when they started turning into Sony who they are today.
Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, I have to start wrapping up because I still have like 2 hours left of my day job. But if you have time, I have a really quick, fast segment and a medium-sized fast segment, and I'll let you pick which one do you want to start with and end with.
Let's do the medium one first.
Okay, so because we started the show dogging on them, but not actually that hard, we are going to go through every physical Vita release that East Asia Soft did this year. Not every single one, because that would be a really, really long time. And we're going to give you're allowed to use a single word or a noise to describe how you feel about each release. So from Project Sense all the way up to Bard's Gold, because we can't comment on Mooseman yet.
Yep.
So I'll let you go first. Project Sense.
Trash. Sorry, it should not have even come out. It runs so badly.
Well, you know what's a bad sign? When they have less than 1,000. When they print like less than 1,000, that's them warning you. That's like, hey guys, we did as little as legally possible on this one.
Yeah.
Project Sense, I'll give a with a little concern at the end of it. Patchy we're on a roll.
Nah. It's a waste of a card. Really.
Titillating. I got my wife to play it longer than I would have ever thought. So at least it had that behind it.
Yeah.
The Lost Cube.
Bad. I didn't like that game.
Demo.
Did not like it at all.
Gave me demo vibes. When I played it, I was like, this just feels like a demo. Okay, I'm going to cheat, because we didn't actually get this until 2021, and then I actually really do like this game. Habroxia 2.
Oh, great. Excellent game. And especially when they patched in, because the one complaint I had about it was it wasn't very difficult, and then they patched in extra difficulty, which is brilliant. They, that is a really good game, and made even better after the patch.
Is it sad that I'm excited that Lilymo's game is them finally making Perils of Baking good?
Oh, they updated that?
No, they are remaking Perils of Baking to actually make it like... Because the funny thing with like Lilymo, Perils of Baking is like, it could be any other generic 2D Vita side-scroller, and then every other game they did after that was like, oh, this is really good, or like this has a... Like even something like a Twin Breaker, it's like, that has a good concept, like it's got a good idea. Like that, like Perils of Baking kind of just stands out as a weird, like, what were you doing kind of thing. So I'm glad that like they're going back. I think that's coming out early next year because last I checked, it's pretty much almost done, and that's going to be out on like everything.
Cool. I didn't actually know that. That's awesome.
Synergia.
Good. I'm glad it came to Vita.
Surprising. I'll say that it was that was probably. Out of all the Top Hat games that really had a hard time running, that was probably the best one they had. Also, R.I.P. to the cloth platformer one that was on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
God, that game looked so cool.
Yeah, I tried the demo of it. It was really fun. Laser,
Laser, yeah. That was, I gotta say, that was one, though, you should have known if that wasn't going to come to the system. There were a couple of Kickstarter games that I was like, you took a little too long to cancel yourself.
Yeah, exactly. They that was known probably a lot earlier that it's not going to come. But hey, yeah, at least I think Vita backers got their money anyway.
Super Skull Smash Go 2 Turbo.
It's okay. It was a fun enough game. Not amazing, but it was okay.
Redemption is the word I will use only for the fact that this made it so that every Poppy games or every Wolf game got a physical release, and I love when that happens for devs. And I think that like out of any studio that deserves it for weird reasons, like this was one of them. Like because when this happened, like I think Halloween Forever was like if that could get a physical release, then there's nothing saying that this one can. Because it was like that dev has ported so many weird games that like I was at least just glad to have that happen. It would be like. Yeah. Imagine if Limited Run made their final game just a compilation cart of every Kemco Vita game. You wouldn't love it, but you'd be like, well, the history's done. We can close the book on this now. Now that I've said that, watch the final Vita game. It'd be Mooseman and just a random just Kemco compilation on Vita.
Oh, God. I would be okay with a compilation. I think one single Kemco game, I would not be okay with.
I'll tell you this. There's 1,000 copies produced. It's 4 games on one cartridge, and it's $100. 88 Heroes.
I think... not one word, obviously, but I think the concept was good. Gameplay was okay. It looked great, but it wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. It
ran well. This is a weird one to describe in like one word, but like obviously these are all basically sentences anyways, but like I feel like East Asia Soft would have been better if they switched Xenocrisis and this is release date. I think if this one had released first, because remember they're by the same dev. I think if Xenocrisis hadn't released first, it would have been like, oh cool, because like shout out to how sad this is. That game is still in stock.
Oh, is it? No
way. It's the only physical Vita release that they have not sold out of their entire line.
That's crazy. That's a really good game as well.
It's good, but I think it's just one of those things of like you know what you're getting. Because also that's another one that was on physical platforms for Wii U, Switch, Xbox, PC, PS4 for
Dreamcast
years
as well.
before. It's been ported forever.
Yeah, true.
So like I think good, but it released at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one. Dungeons and Bombs.
I don't know. Haven't played it. I've got it. I've opened it, but I haven't played it yet. It's sitting in my Vita case right now.
Ugly, forgettable, but inoffensive.
Oh man. Okay. All right.
Some of those East Asia Soft games, you'll wonder like who did the art and did they actually know what this game looked like? Because if you look at the box art, like this is really colorful and really bright and fun, and then you look at the pixel art and go like, oh, okay. Astro Aqua Kitty.
Oh, brilliant. Better than I thought it would be as well. Especially when you look at Aqua Kitty, the first game. It's just like it's such a huge step up. It's brilliant.
Well, think about it too, because that wasn't even their last game that they did on Vita. We had Rock Boshers, which is very different. But like, I'm gonna be because they were publicly teasing this game for a very long time. If this one didn't make the cut, for the physical release, I would have been very sad, because I think this is such a special game. And one of the best parts about this one is if you own this physical version, much like Shakedown Hawaii, you get basically the beta build. Like the build that was done 6 months before they actually patched it.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually turned the cartridge on. Okay, that's cool.
And another one of those fun games that actually is totally will work, because like some of these last games did come with a kind of beefier patch, or like patches that are needed just to fix some things. So Astro Aqua Kitty is one of those, like, I'm glad it's everywhere, but I love playing it on Vita the most. Like, it's such a good game.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
Takotan.
Serviceable. It's fine. It's not. It doesn't do anything special when it comes to shooters.
It's tough because there's so many shmups on the Vita. Like there are. I think if this was on a system with no shmups, it would be like, this is fun. But like once you play through it once, you will never touch this game again.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I played through it, I think, for a couple of hours, and it's like, well, it's fine. It's not. There are so many better shooters on the Vita. I'd rather spend my time with.
Like, imagine you have Darius Burst, and then you show someone Takotan. And you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Excuse me, sir. Horizon Chase Turbo.
Excellent. Really glad it's come to the Vita. Like I said, long load times, but a really good game. Really fun.
And a ton of content. Like, the thing I would take away with this is that there is a lot of game in there. And it's just, it's there. It performs good. Just be patient. If you can take a nap in between races, you'll love this game.
Yeah.
Luckslinger.
Dunno. Haven't tried it.
Luckslinger is actually an interesting one. It looks very simplistic, really great writing, amazing soundtrack, and has a really good like Cowboy Bebop vibe for an indie game. I would say like it's like a mixture of Cowboy Bebop with Samurai Champloo. It's a really good tone, really good dialogue. It performs actually pretty good because it was ported by this dev who literally only did Luckslinger. And so I was surprised at how well it ran, looked, and sounded. Like, that was another one I'm glad I got through them physically. A, because it was exclusive, but B, because the soundtrack being on the CD was a really, really good addition.
Cool. Okay, I need to give it a try.
Scourgebringer.
Excellent. Just excellent. So good as a game. And just like... and I really like all the options in this game. There's really good accessibility options. You can do like God mode where you are invincible. If you just want to kind of try and learn the game. But it's really good, really tough, but really good.
I was gonna say I think my word has to be hard, because that's probably the hardest East Asia Soft game they've ever put out. Like Scourgebringer, if you do not want to do the accessibility stuff, is going to kill you very easily. I have not beaten that game yet. Still.
Yeah, no, it's really tough, really tough. But I really enjoy it. I think that's a brilliant get to have on Vita, especially physically.
Pushy and pulley.
It's okay. I probably played about 7 or 8 levels. I didn't play it very long. It's fine. I think you can kind of guess what you're getting from the cover. Just a kind of a very sort of colorful puzzle game, which is fine. It's not anything special. I think there are other games I would have rather had, but it's fine. It's one of these games I don't mind as much having physically because it's inoffensive and it's not digital. So I'd rather have something rather than nothing.
What a get out of jail free card, by the way, when it's a physical exclusive, because it's like, listen, you either buy it now or you're never going to play it legally.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when we get to Arcade Distilleries games, I'll have a different statement, but still.
Pushy pulley, I would say I give puzzle games a really easy slide just because there's not a lot of them on most systems, and like it scratches like that itch. And, like, my only complaint with it is, like, I wish it was co-op. It's fun, but lonely.
Yeah.
Indigo 7, I'd be very curious what you think about.
I haven't tried it yet. It's another one I've got kind of waiting to try. I think, so because I've got multiple Vitas, but because I use my hacked Vita more than anything else, which has got a 500 gig SD card on, I don't use my regular Vita, which is what I would put physical games in.
I will say, Indigo 7 is not perfect, but it is a rare thing of it's really good. It performs pretty well. It is a very literally there's no puzzle games out there like it. It like kind of looks like a puzzle fighter, but its mechanics are very interesting because it's kind of all about rapid tile matching, and the fact that there's actually not only a story mode but local multiplayer on the Vita. Like you can do 2 players on one system. I'm an instant sucker for any game that does that.
Yeah, that's great.
This one you'll probably be more of a fan of than me. Brotherhood United.
Yeah, it's short. It's very short. I think I didn't buy it physically because I already had it digitally and finished it, and got the platinum in one playthrough. I think it's like 3 hours long, and you've got the platinum pretty much guaranteed. It's okay. It's one of these games where whenever I think of what game should be physical, you get physical release. It should be games that are either big file size or long or good replay value or just excellent games. And it doesn't tick any of those boxes. It's kind of inoffensive. It's okay. It's an okay game. Probably didn't deserve physical release.
You see, it sucks is like it's just a budget Metal Slug clone. When there are other Metal Slug clones, I love way more on the Vita. Like, shout out, by the way, to Mercenary Kings. That game never gets enough love. That game, that game's like such a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Skull Pirates. Like, I guess all I could say with it is I'm glad it's Mighty Number 9. I'm glad we got something as opposed to nothing. But I would never defend it from anyone else like bashing on it.
No, it's a ripoff. I feel.
Says the man to the guy who spent $150 on it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I bought the East Asia Soft version, and that's whatever $40-50 or something. But they sold it on Kickstarter for some people paid $100 or $150, and you're getting a 1 hour game. I'm sorry, it's just I know Luke is a big fan of the Vita, and he's obviously been a big supporter, but this feels like a rip-off and taking advantage of the fact that Vita owners buy everything.
Can't help but notice haven't been promoting any free arcade distillery codes with this Kickstarter this time.
No, that's true. That's true.
I actually went to the Kickstarter just to double check to see if they'd updated anything or answered anyone's questions recently. Have not in a couple of weeks. Also, extra sad when you realize that this Kickstarter was literally 4 years ago.
That's really bad. I mean, well, the fact that East Asia Play Asia buyers got it before Kickstarter buyers is just rude. The guys who backed you from day one, who paid for you to be able to develop this game, it's bad. It's really, really out of order, I think.
Well, I'm very excited to then hear what you think about War Theater Blood of Winter.
Oh, I haven't played it. I did play the other War Theater original one, which was okay. It was kind of fun, actually. Very basic graphics and long load times from memory. But I'll give this a go at some point.
What's sad is that this is actually probably Arcade Distillery's best game. I would give it to Death Tales, but Death Tales, I think... No, I mean, it got patched, so, its performance at launch was a little rough, and, you straight up couldn't beat Death Tales at launch. Again, another reminder that probably nobody playtested anything.
Yeah.
But, War Theater's great just because it's all of the DLC from War Theater that never actually came to Vita before. So it's a bummer that this had to get... this is War Theater's third physical release. Remember, there was the Indiegogo campaign, the East Asia Soft version, and there's now this. I think if we could have just gotten this as the first release, it would have been an easier recommendation. But if you like War Theater, and it's a really solid Advance Wars-like game, it looks great, it runs great, it's got a lot of story mode in it. It's a really long game. The only thing with it is just, I think the only people who are really going to try it are, the weirdos like me who've been with this game for a really long time, and even then, I heard very few people trying to do so. Oh, I will say, there's one thing Blood of Winter doesn't have that the original release does for obvious reasons. No online. The original does have online, but it was so broken, I don't blame them for taking it out of this one.
Yeah, it makes sense. I remember it was really, really hard, War Theater. It was really tough even to just pass the first level.
It is still hard, but I they might have they did change the difficulty balance for all of it. So I think there's almost twice as many campaigns in Blood of Winter with all the DLC packs.
Okay, fair enough. It's pretty good.
Just ignore them in My Little Sister collection. Sorry, My Big Sister collection.
My Big Sister. Yeah, I think for people that like these games, it's cool. And these games are pretty good. They do have fans.
You know this is going to be really expensive for one reason though. The biggest reason is the Vita has I think 5 horror games, and maybe 3 of them are remember how expensive back in 1994 is? Like, this is going to be something like that, because it's just like, there's not a lot of horror, there's very few physical copies made, and, like, if they are relatively okay, the, like, Vita community will, like, bite it up in an instant. So, like, I think this is going to be one that people are going to look back on and go, like, oh my god, what? Like, why is this so expensive? And the last one, which... God, I wish it wasn't such a wet fart. I wish we could be talking about Mooseman and said, Bard's Gold Complete Edition. I've never felt more indifferent to a physical release in my entire life. I'm assuming you skipped on this one?
I skipped it. It's you know, I tried to read up how much content the extra levels would be. So we already had Bard's Gold from limited run.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't sound like that much content. And it's an okay game. I did actually go back and try it again when the announcement was made, and it's okay. It is actually not a bad game, not as bad as I remembered, to be fair, but it's still not.
It's like with all the different roguelikes and types of games like that on the Vita, it's barking in a really like crowded room already. The problem isn't even that it's like a double dip. I love any kind of complete edition. I will say actually this release is worth buying if you are a physical collector, more than actually for the cart. Like, it's cool that it has a platinum. It's cool that they actually went back. Like, they actually did touch up the game code. Like, there are bugs fixed in this one that are in the original. But then again, you could say, why didn't you just patch it into the physical? But that's okay. But I will say, the dev, I forget his name, but the dev at Pixel Lantern this was clearly something he wanted to do that he just couldn't financially make sense on its own with the Vita. Like,
sure.
There's tons of new art just for this one. Like, there's, I think, at least 4 or 5 main big pieces of art that he made for this. The manual is really nice. Like, they did a lot of work into, like, hey, if you care about Bard's Gold, this is, like, the best it's going to get as a collector's edition. It's nice that there is a album and stuff for it. So, I think it's cool that it got a release, but again, because it's kind of so late into it, it's like, probably should have released this one back in January, not like towards the end of our, like, you don't want like us to kind of remember like the bad. You want us to remember like the big ones. Like for me, if I was them, I think probably and you might disagree, I think the biggest East Asia Soft game they've ever released is Unmetal. I think that's the biggest and best game they've ever done. It's
a really good game. I really like Unmetal. I think Severed is probably another big one.
That's true.
Severed was another really good one. I'm trying to think.
Chasm is another big one. Any of the visual novels. I still cannot believe we got Root Double. I will never forget.
Yeah.
I was talking to the president of Sekai Games, and I was like, "You know that people want this, right?" And he's like, "Really? You guys really want the game?" It's like, "Yes." Yes, and like, because that's the thing that sucks. It's like there are some games that East Asia Soft made happen that are awesome because you know that they would never have happened. Like the crazy thing with Root Double. That was a digital only even in Japan. So, like, that's a really crazy big release for them. And other ones of, like, I love the weird ones, even though this is, like, not the most popular. And I think, actually, you're a big fan of as well. I love Gumbari Super Strikers. That's such a great game to have physically.
Definitely. Yeah, really good fun, that game.
Demon's Tier Plus was another big one of, like, God, that was so fun and ran so well and looked really, really fun. Like, even the weird ones that, like, people I know probably won't look back on, like, fondly. But, God, I'm not gonna lie. I really had a lot of fun platinuming Pantsu Hunter. That's just a really stupid, fun game to have.
Cool. Excellent. Glad someone liked it.
So now we're gonna end it on probably the most negative part of the show, but this is our last chance to really do this, I genuinely feel. The floor is yours, Sandeep. Let's pretend that there's a 1% chance that anyone from Nicholas is listening. Is there anything you'd like to say to them from the Vita community, from your mouth to them?
From who? Sorry, Nicholas?
Yeah, Nicholas.
Nicalis.
Nicalis, Nicholas, Nicole in accounting. If you'd like to tell them how you really feel.
Okay. Look. I know you're not going to release these games, but if you can give me a copy of each of them, that would be really nice, and I would show them off on Twitter a lot and make everyone jealous.
Is it bad? Like, I don't know about you, I've literally turned down copies of those games before because I don't want the hole-punched versions. I want the legit copies of those games. Like, I know they're going to sell them one day. There's no way they're not going to. Like, this is a company that literally has two things that they're known for. Milking the Binding of Isaac and not releasing their PlayStation Vita games.
I mean, because I did a video on the history, kind of the things they've said over the years when the Binding of Isaac copy got located, and they did indicate that they've got them already, that they had them made. Just I don't know what they're waiting for. I hope one day they do release it, but I don't know. You would have thought they would have done it already if they were going to do it.
But the sad part is, and I think we even said this literally 2 years ago on the podcast, I swear to God, it's got to be they've got to be the last. And if you want to look for proof of this, why they want to be the last releasers, look at their April Fool's tweet from this year. They posted a physical copy of Binding of Isaac on 3DS and said, "Last physical 3DS release, anyone?" Like, for whatever reason, like, again, I don't know why any developer would want to be known as releasing the last. Like, that's normally not a good moniker when you wanted to wait when everyone was done with the system and it died to be the end of it. Like, if the last Vita game we ever get sold physically is The Binding of Isaac, 1001 Spikes, and VVVVV, the only thing people will remember is how long we had to wait and how we never wanted to buy anything from that company ever again.
True, although I think we'd all eat it up very quickly. We would buy every single one of those. But my one worry is that they would only release it in the States. I don't think their US store... Sorry.
You almost made it through the whole episode without coughing. We almost had a perfect run.
I know. Well, I've been muting it every now and again and like having some water. So.
That was smooth. I could not even tell at all.
Oh, nice. I think the problem is their US store doesn't ship to Europe. From memory, when I last looked at it.
No, not only do they not do that, but believe it or not, they actually have partnered with like Heads Up Games and Numskull Games before. They don't even work with their partners anymore. And straight up, they just don't even have... what is it? They don't even have... Wow, I really can't think about it. They don't even have the... partnership still, so that like Binding of Isaac Repentance just came out. They can't even patch it or patch in the new stuff.
Oh,
because they don't want to share the money with the physical distributor. So you have to just buy a brand new digital copy or physical from them in the States. They won't patch the European physical copies anymore. So I would say if you're expecting if you're expecting a European release, definitely don't hold your breath.
Yeah, and that worries me, because then imagine if it came out and then only there was 2,000 copies and only for the States. It's like that would be so.
I'll say this: I bet you that they were at least stupid enough to print 5,000 of Binding of Isaac. I cannot imagine they would print the bare minimum, because like the thing with them is they don't print tiny amounts of games when they do it. Like, look at all of their other physical exclusives that they've done on their website. None of them have sold out. Even something as big as Ikaruga. Like, so I at least would say they probably printed a lot. They just won't sell them yet.
Hope so. I mean, that's a lot of warehouse space to take up with those copies.
Listen, what else is that company doing? They're selling their Isaac merch, and they've got like I'm assuming an office of like 10 employees. I've tried so hard to get an interview from anybody or Tyrone or anyone. Like, no one will talk to any. Like, I've even gone to the trouble of like I found their distributor for their store, and I was like, "Can I get a hold of anybody?" And they're like, "Do you want to buy something from our store?" And I was like, "No, I want to interview someone who works at the store." And they're like, "Nope, we can't do any public interviews."
Wow. That's a shame.
Yeah.
But probably a cool story that will eventually come out, I hope.
I'm more certain, honestly, it's a sad story, because literally every time I talk to anyone who's ever worked at them, it's like, not the best, but they have all the rights to all these games, and it ball's in their court now, so it's like, probably not an awesome story for it, but...
I just hope, if there's a happy ending, I'll be glad. If it comes out, then that's the main thing. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope, to be honest.
Well, now I gotta ask. Now I have to ask you the sad question: do you want your final Vita game, your final physical new released Vita game, to be Revenge of the Bird King or Binding of Isaac? If you had to pick.
Oh, Binding of Isaac. Come on. Revenge of the Bird King is a game I got for like 9 cents on the Switch store. So, or it may have been 1 cent. I can't remember. It was
the
really
lowest
cheap.
it went was 1 penny.
Yeah, and I haven't even turned it on still. I just got it for the sake of it.
I will one day. I've been trying for a embarrassingly long amount of time to get Joe to come on and let me interview him just about that game. That game has such a weird level of conspiracy behind it. Like, you have no idea. Like, people legitimately think Limited Run have like a Ponzi scheme behind that game, which is definitely not the case.
Yeah, I remember seeing there was that documentary recently, wasn't it? Just documentary, maybe too big a word. Basically, just saying how limited run games are really evil. Some of it was a little hyperbolic.
A little bit
skeptical.
Yeah.
Some of it, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you for letting me steal up so much of your time. I'm feeling, what for you? It's probably like 12:30 almost.
11:30.
Okay.
So I'm heading to bed straight away now.
Well, I'm sorry I took up so much of your time for a day,
No
but
worries. It's been fun.
It was so good getting to talk to you. So let's do one last at least pimp for everyone out there. So if you're not aware, again, we've got the Vita Means Life book Kickstarter. How close are we to the checklist? That's the real question.
Not far, man. It's I think it's 28K now. I'm just kind of loading it up, but yeah, it's not far. And so that's which is awesome and also scary for me, just because it's a lot of work, but it's something I would really love to make happen and just love to be able to have as well.
Now this is the real thing. Will you finally fix? Oh, actually, you might have actually revised this, and I forgot it in the past. Will you finally fix the largest error from the first Vita book of including Doctor Who as a physical Vita game?
Oh, I think I did that already. I think I did. Wait a minute. I've got a copy of it here.
I will never forget. As soon as I got, you sent me the print from the first one. Like, it had just been sent off to the printers, and you sent me the final PDF, and it was the first thing I noticed. It was like, oh, that Doctor Who game never got released physically.
Yeah, and it was because it was on some website that it was.
Yeah, a ton of websites always would put up like fake Vita listings because it was like, well, of course Doctor Who would come out physically. Which, oh my god, imagine if that was the final East Asia Soft game. I would actually flip my lid. As a huge Doctor Who fan, I've always wanted that game to get physically released on Vita.
Yep, it's not in the updated copy, so you can rest easy.
Thank God.
It's been fixed. But I mean, I got to admit, that's one thing that's kind of scary about the, even the book and the collector's handbook, because I just hope I don't miss something.
I will tell you. I mean, you always know I'm available, but I have a disgusting knowledge about this system.
Yeah.
So
I might need to just send you a copy.
Yeah, whenever you have any print or proof update at all, please send them my way. Because like my favorite thing is to just go through and just be like, okay, look for inaccuracies. It's not even like I get off by it. It's just like my brain. I think it's like a mixture of being a writer for so long and also editing for other people. Is just like when your brain just knows all of this weird history. It's like, imagine if someone said to you, oh yeah, like that one Assassin's Creed game on PlayStation Vita. No, normal people would go, of course, there was one Assassin's Creed game on PlayStation Vita. And then I would have to come running in from the other room and go, excuse me, did you forget Assassin's Creed Chronicles, the trilogy released on PlayStation Vita?
Exactly, yep. But no, I might do that actually. That would be good to have someone to check it as well.
If like, would it be weird or would it be fun if your wife was as big of a nerd about the Vita as you? Like, I think about that sometimes. Of like, what if like my partner loved this one aspect of my collection as much as I do? Would that be fun or would it be like too much to have two of you?
Probably be too dangerous in terms of money spent. So
you could have a his and her Vita set. It'd be like, here's my Dragon Quest Vita next to my very bougie Gucci Vita for her. Well, man, thank you so much again for coming on. I know we'd kind of said in the beginning, but where can people find you with the YouTube channel, the Kickstarter? Obviously, will be in the show notes and everything for YouTube before. But where else can people find you?
Yep. So if you go to YouTube, type "Too Old for Gaming" with the numbers 2 and 4, and you'll find me there. So that's how to get to my content.
All right, man. Well, I will let you go. I have done a very bad job of working, but that just goes to show how slow. I've been clocked in for 30 minutes, I want you to know, and I've had nothing come into my steed, so that's a good sign for the rest of my night ahead. But you have a good rest of your night, and I'm going to immediately start editing and uploading this, and I'm sure having a blast. So, actually, I probably should say goodbye. I'm so used to doing the normal stuff. Hi, if you watched this, just thanks. This is only going up on YouTube, so all 5,000 of you, whoever are subscribed, please stay subscribed. If you're new, please also subscribe, and... I could actually do this. If you have a suggestion or someone who you would like me to interview, please comment below, because most likely than not, I can probably get them on. I just have to actually ask them. So that's kind of the thing. So let me know who you would want to have interviewed from the Vita community or a Vita developer, and because I'm gonna be honest. If you guys don't suggest people to me, I'm just gonna get the weirdest people. I'm gonna get Tyler on, and we're gonna talk about 6 hours of Night Trap again. And no one asked for that, but I asked for that. So that's what's gonna happen. Well, goodbye, everybody. We're going to actually end this now so we can all get back with our lives, and Sandeep can finally sleep and probably have nightmares about folding and packaging and shipping off books for the rest of his life.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Spence.
See ya.